The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom project by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission to inform our community of the sacrifices made by those in the military on battlefields around the world. Each veteran interviewed received a Valor Award for heroism during combat. We want to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this Military Heritage Program. Hello everyone, I'm Tom Kennemer. Welcome to our program. Today we'll be talking with retired U.S. Army Colonel Curtis Potts. Colonel Potts served 29 years in the Army. He is recipient of the Distinguished Flying Cross and 2 Bronze Stars for his actions during 2 tours in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and the Joint Service Commendation Medal with the V device for his actions in Desert Storm. He was inducted into the Madison County Military Heritage Hall of Heroes in 2019. Curtis, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Tom.
your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Tell us a little about yourself. I understand, I believe you're from the Chicago area. Is that right?
I am. It's kind of a back and forth. We originally from Chicago area and born in Oak Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And then my dad decided to move a family of 6 kids out to the country. Yeah. So we moved to a small town in western Illinois, about 3,000 people in the whole town. Yeah. And then the plant my dad worked at shut down, and so my senior year we picked up and moved back to the Chicago area. And I'm in a school with about the same population as my whole town.
I see.
So different. So we ended up back in Chicago, and of course that's where I ended up going to Loyola University of Chicago for my undergrad.
Was your dad in the military?
My dad was. My dad was a Coast Guard during World War II. He was one of those guys that as soon as he turned 17, quit school, ran down, and applied, and he was in the Coast Guard chasing down German subs off the Atlantic coast.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
When did you decide to go in the military, go in the Army? Were you in ROTC?
I was in college ROTC, but I always wanted to be a military officer and a pilot. You know, I had 3 uncles that were in World War II, of course my dad, and just seemed like military service was something that our family did.
Mm-hmm. So you went in the military, and you were in armor first, is that right?
Was, because aviation didn't have a branch.
Okay.
And so armor, I went armor, and they said, if you go armor, we'll send you to flight school. And I said, I'd be happy to be a tanker. And so I went to armor school and then flight school. Never served in a tank unit. I went right into aviation.
That was your way to get...
That was my way to get into those helicopters. That's right.
Well, tell us about the aviation training. What was that like?
It was, for me, hard. Had to study a lot more than it seemed like I did in college, which may not be a good thing, but it was really good. All the instructors were multi-combat Vietnam vets.
Fort Rucker, is that where you
Fort Rucker, Alabama, right,
yeah.
Okay. So we had all the retired warrant officers from Vietnam that were teaching us, and it was difficult, but I mean, it was a lot of fun, learning in Hueys, and then you'd shift to whatever helicopter you're going to fly in your next unit.
How long is your training, aviation training?
It was 9 months.
Okay.
It was 9 months long, yeah.
And so you flew all different types of
Yeah, I trained in Hueys, UH-1s, in flight school. As soon as I got to my first unit, they had all OH-58s because our job was scouting for artillery. So I got a transition into OH-58s, flew OH-58s, and then in the mid-'80s, before I went to the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment in Germany when the wall was still up, I got a Cobra transition, so I was flying Cobras over in Germany. Yeah.
You've flown just about everything the Army has, right?
Yeah, the only helicopter I did not fly was a Chinook. But as brigade commander, I'd jump in and fly Apaches with my guys, and of course Blackhawks is what I flew as a battalion and brigade commander.
What was your favorite?
My favorite was the MH-6 that we flew in special operations. They call it the Little Bird. It's a little small one that you see with the little planks, and the guys are sitting outside, and it's like a sports car. It was a lot of fun to fly.
Goes fast and maneuvers well.
Well, it was quick.
Yeah.
It was very fun. Yeah.
Curtis, you're also involved in military special operations. Tell us a little about what you did in that.
Okay. So I started in '88, '91, U.S. SOCOM, Special Operations Command. That was 4-star headquarters that stood up. I was a junior Army officer assigned to that command down in Tampa, Florida. And that's kind of where I got my special ops start. after that assignment, I went to the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment that's just up the road at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I spent 7 years there. 5 years, my first tour, and then 2 years as a deputy commander after I came back from battalion command. Yeah.
Now, when you weren't flying aircraft, you're jumping out of them.
Yes.
I understand you're a master parachutist?
Master parachute jump master.
As well as a free fall.
Yeah, free fall.
All right, talk about that a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
ever have any close calls?
I did a couple close calls, actually, in Halo School, the free fall school, on one of our, I can't remember which jump it was, one of the first 10 jumps. We went out at about 14,000 feet, and there was a fellow that was behind me in the stack, and he somehow got out of control. So he's flipping, and I'm stable, and he smacked into me and sent me in a spiral. It took me about 6,000 feet to get myself back under control to be able to open up my parachute. So that would be the one close call I had there. Static line that you always see on TV with all the people coming out. Unfortunately, the Air Force put our whole stick in some pretty high trees. So I was stuck in a tree about 40 feet up. Take my reserve, pull it down, and crawl down my reserve to get to the ground. Yeah.
How many jumps have you made?
I have a little over 200.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Only 2 incidents, yeah.
Would you like to do that now, these days?
Oh,
now that you've been retired?
Yeah, there's always that, you know, you just want to get up there and fly or jump, you know. I love jumping, yeah.
Talk about some of your other duties before your involvement in Desert Storm.
For Desert Storm, okay, so I was a captain, a young captain at Special Ops Command, and it was there that they sent me to Jump Master course to be a jump master for the command there. And they sent me to support 3rd Special Forces Group. So I was on a special weapons team, I'll put it to that way. And I was fortunate enough to get sent to Desert Shield and support a SOCOM on the special weapons team. And then when Desert Storm kicked off, I went back and supported 3rd Special Forces Group. So my duties were I was a Joint Requirements and Special Actions Officer at SOCOM. And that's how I got to Desert Storm. Before that, I was a cavalry officer. Like I said, flying 58s, OH 58s and Cobras on the German-Czechoslovakian border, keeping them on their communists on their side and us on our side. So
make sure everyone stayed in their
everyone stayed on their own
place.
Side. Occasionally, they would come across, and yeah.
So you served, was it 3 combat tours in the Middle East?
Yes.
Starting with Desert Storm. Talk
Right.
about that experience.
Well, that's so when I was at SOCOM, we had some special weapons that I won't get into, but that we took over to Saudi Arabia and to show the special forces units, hey, we got these special weapons, might need them in the employment, and we taught them how to use it. And then Desert Storm was going to kick off, and so they sent us back because we knew it was imminent. And then they put us on a team, and I actually linked up with a counter sniper team. So my time as an Army aviator was with the counter sniper team with 3rd Special Forces Group. Yeah.
Curtis, you received the Distinguished Flying Cross for your heroic action as an aviation commander at the start of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Talk about that experience and what it was like.
Okay. So just as background, we got there in September of 2002. And I was 1st Aviation Brigade headquarters there, and I started building up the aviation forces as they flew into theater. Then we rehearsed, and then in March, of course, we kicked off the war. So as the Aviation Brigade Commander for 3rd Infantry Division, our job with my Apache Battalion was to take out all the checkpoints on the Kuwaiti-Iraq border, and then start opening up the hole for the ground forces to start coming through. So that's what we did, and I think probably a follow-up question would be the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Right.
We were basically in contact, and I was flying for about 24 hours straight. A particular time when we were taking down the checkpoints, cruise missiles were going through to knock out some sites in and around Baghdad. So the cruise missiles, when you're in a command and control bird, you've got this area that you stay in and you're safe. You're good to go as far as other aircraft flying with the altitude and in that spot. And so the cruise missiles were basically come in through our safe zone there. So I was supposed to either get down 500 feet, I was at 1,000 feet above the ground, or raise 1,500 feet. If I went down to 500 feet, I was afraid I was going to lose contact with my Apaches. So I chose to go up 1,500 feet.
You stayed on station?
I stayed on station, yeah. So the cruise missiles came underneath us. Now my crew chief would tell you that one of the fins of the cruise missiles hit our wheel on our Black Hawk and got it spinning. I would tell you it wasn't that close, but it makes for a good story. Yeah. But yeah, but they flew underneath our space, our airspace.
So while you were there, you could actually hear them, like, you know, making noise?
I was looking at maps, and I was on, and my crew chief said, there they go, and I looked, and I could just see really the flames from the rocket. Yeah, like, yeah, that's all I saw as they went passing through. But they were pretty doggone low. Yeah. Thinking about it, they were moving out, and they were fast and low. But wow. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
You were thinking, well, maybe I should go just a little higher.
A little higher, yeah. It's like maybe they could find another place to go through.
Yeah. You also received the Joint Service Commendation Medal with Valor for your service to our country. Explain more about why you received this medal.
Okay. The Joint Commendation Medal with Valor device was for Desert Storm. So we liberated the embassy in Kuwait City, and it was, the intel said that the whole compound was rigged with chemical explosives and other devices. And so basically I was the third person through the door, downed all our gas masks and all our mop gears, it's called, and I went through. And the two people in front of me was a chemical sniffing dog and his handler, and then it was me. So I'm saying the dog was a person. So there were three of us, and I was number 3 through the thing, and then helped clear it out. So for those actions, which I don't think's too valorous, but everybody else was back waiting to see what explosion was going to happen as we went through the door and the turnstile type of door. And thank God nothing did happen. Right. But I got an award for that.
I see. Yeah. Now, as commander of the 4th Brigade Aviation, you accepted to surrender more than 16,000 Iraqi troops. Right. Tell us more about that. I think we have some pictures, of course, that will show the audience.
So we had already established ourselves in Baghdad, so 3rd ID, boom, the fight up all the way into Baghdad. And one of the Special Forces groups that was working out west by Ramadi said, basically, hey, we got this commander who's in charge of the regional forces, General Jamari, and he holds about, or controls about 16,000 troops. And they said, we need someone to accept his surrender. So General Blunt, our division commander, called me up and said, hey, I want you to get out there. So he knew I was already special operations, and I have, good contacts with 5th Group out there. So I got in one of my helicopters, 2 Apaches escorting, flew out to Ramadi and accepted this general surrender. So he was in control of the 16,000 troops, but it wasn't like there were 16,000 men lined up. Right. They had already faded into their communities and stuff. So the Articles of Surrender was that he would guarantee control over those men. They would not put a uniform back on, carry weapons, and would not have any aggression towards any of our coalition forces, and he agreed to all of that.
Did they have to turn in their weapons?
Nope. They kept, and that was one thing. They kept their weapons, but we never really no issues or heard from him and his men again. So, in fact, after the surrender, we got him in a vehicle, and he brought us to where all of his tanks and BMPs and all of the Russian vehicles that were part of his 16,000 man force, where they had put him and where they had hit him. So we basically did confiscate or destroy all the vehicles that were associated with that force.
How did you communicate, Curtis? Did you have a translator, or could you speak the Iraqi language?
No, I could not speak Arabic. I did have a translator, and he also had a translator for English. So
make sure that everything was
right. And we brought our lawyer, our division lawyer, with us, so he made sure everything was signed and perfect, and on both sides.
Well, the general, the Iraqi general, was he? Like, hey, I regret this, or was he belligerent toward you? Or
no, it was, I felt like it was 2 professional soldiers, and he realized it's over. And it almost seemed like he was relieved. And he felt like by surrendering and guaranteeing us there would be no more aggression, that he was saving the lives of his soldiers. And so he wasn't belligerent, he was very professional, he saluted me. I actually gave him a cigar afterwards, so the two of us had cigars, so you know, go smoke a cigar. And he shook my hand and he said thank you. So, yeah.
Curtis, describe what it's like to serve in combat, a war zone, knowing that you could be wounded, possibly captured, or even killed in action. I like to ask all of our veterans that question, and we get some various answers. But how would you describe that feeling when you're in combat in a war zone?
Yeah, you know, I would. You always hear that your training kicks in, and I have to say your training kicks in, and the focus on the mission. Of course, I'd been in special operations for 10 years prior to that, and had gone to survival school and stuff, so our training's a little bit different. But once you're there, you know, you don't really think about getting wounded. I never did, or getting killed. I just focused on the mission. Here's what we got to do, and then what can I do to keep my soldiers, my airmen, from getting hurt? You know, what's the best way to accomplish this mission without putting lives at risk, right? And that's really the focus. And if you focus on that, you know, then if it's your time, it's your time, right?
Is it a certain amount, you have a few butterflies at first, like when you're starting out on a mission that
Yeah.
you know could be shot, somebody may be shooting at you?
Yeah, I think it's maybe, you know, for the folks that are looking at this, maybe like a game. You get the pre-game jitters beforehand.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a wrestler, but once they blow that whistle, you're in it. You're in the match. And same thing with any match. Once they blow the whistle, you're just focused on what is it that you have to do, what's your mission, and you do it and you carry it out. And that's kind of the way it was the whole time. Yeah.
How does it make you feel when people call you a hero, when they read about or hear about what you did in combat, in war? How does that make you feel?
To be honest, Tom, it makes me uncomfortable because you feel like you were doing your job. You know, I signed up to be a soldier. That's what I always wanted to be. It's my job, and I was doing what I was trained to do, and I just happened to be in a set of circumstances that caused me to do certain actions, you know, whatever it is. And my higher headquarters, they deemed this was heroic, and they pinned a medal on you. But you know, just like you know, there's so many of our fellow soldiers and comrades that didn't come back. And I always consider those that are wounded, broken, paid the ultimate price, they're the real heroes. Yeah.
They deserve all the accolades.
They deserve it all, and so do those families for everything they went through, you know. Yeah.
Tell us about your duties. I know we talked about your 3 combat tours, some of your duties after Operation Iraqi Freedom. Before you retired in 2009, talk about some of the things you did after these conflicts.
Okay, so, well, from the one conflict, the 2 Iraqi Freedom Tours, I was brigade commander, as we talked about, but then 18 months later, I was right back in Baghdad with 4th Infantry Division as the division chief of staff. So there I had about a 600-man staff that I controlled with our 30,000 men that we had in the field. So as a division chief staff, pretty doggone busy. After I got done with that tour, I was selected to be the commander of Operational Test Command at Fort Hood, Texas. Great job. I got to test, my job was to test all of the weapon systems, whether it's radios, you know, the new generation of rifles, the MRAPs that we sent over to Afghanistan to defeat the IEDs. I tested all that in an operational setting with actual troops from 10th Mountain Division, 101st, 82nd Airborne, to make sure that they passed all the specifications that we needed in an operational environment. Then I'd sign off on them or not, and kick them back out for production to get out to our troops. And that was really my last assignment after my 2 tours in Iraq, Operational Test Command, and then I retired in 2009.
Was it tough leaving the service and coming up? I mean, I know you had to think about retirement maybe before you actually did it. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, I had to think about it for a long time. My wife, not so. It was hard. You know, I still had my my ACUs, my field uniform hanging in my closet with my flight suits, and for about 6 months I'd go stare at it. My wife would come up and say, "Get over it. You're a civilian now. You know, you need to move all those out of your closet to someplace else." It was hard.
Well, 29 years, yeah.
29 years. It's
A good portion of your life. Yeah.
And you feel like you're doing something that is a higher calling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you. It's about serving your nation, serving the people of the nation. And you know, you get out and you're looking for that. Where is that out there to fill my spirit again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the camaraderie, as
Right.
you know, it's all about your friends, the close bonds you make all through, and you miss that camaraderie.
Yeah, yeah. Curtis, I know you didn't serve during the Vietnam era. You served in Iraq. Talk about the differences between, and your 29 years, you know, you studied about war and conflicts while in the Army. What do you perceive as the difference between Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan even?
Sure,
you know, later conflicts.
You know, I guess I'd kind of look at that in a couple different aspects. One, how we got there, right? And you know, when you look at Vietnam, it was really, you know, Eisenhower. It started back in the late 50s. Eisenhower really got us into Vietnam, and it was in support of the French, who were, at that time, it was the Viet Minh that they were fighting, the Viet Minh, because Vietnam was French colony. And so we supported our World War II ally. So you think, how did we ever get in Vietnam? Well, we started by supporting our World War II ally. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
And so then I think for Vietnam, the support from our nation, the people of our nation. You know, my hats are off to the Vietnam vets. What they had to go through, the type of fighting they had to go through, and then to come home and not get appreciated. I mean, shame on our nation back then. You know, I know we're going through a tough time, but still, my heart goes out to all the Vietnam vets. Difference with Afghanistan, how did we get into Afghanistan? Well, it was to fight the terrorists, right? I mean, that was our response, and I was in the 160th when we went into Afghanistan. So we went after terrorists. So that was really started as a counter-terrorist mission. Once we figured the government's tied to the terrorists, then it became, okay, we got to help get Afghanistan, you know, set those guys right. And then it just went to, you know, with Iraq. You know, where they got weapons of mass destruction to go to the terrorists. I mean, it's all kind of connected. But the main difference with as it relates to the support, we had the support of the people of our country. And probably one of the things that I really appreciated when I got home was someone says, you know, I really don't support the decision for you guys to go into Iraq and do that. But I support you, and as long as you're over there, I'm going to do everything I can for you. And that was the difference between our soldiers coming home from Vietnam, soldiers coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a difference. A good way to explain it. It really is, yeah. I know you and your wife were married early in your military career, and being in the military, you have to move around a lot. Talk about the stress that it can put on the family while you're in the military, you know, moving different stations and so forth.
Yeah. I think a lot more stress on the family than on the soldier, right? Because we're excited. We're going to our next command, our next job. We're ready to go. But 16 moves in 29 years. And so, you know, and most of our wives work now, so they're professionals. It's not like they're staying at home. So they have to try to set up house. You know, you get home from work at 6 at night and you're working to unpack boxes till midnight and then turn around and get your house set up. New schools. A new city, you know, I don't know where anything is, you know, I mean, so it's pretty new friends. You got to make whole new friends and stuff. So it's stressful. But with that stress comes the resiliency. And you look at our military brats, our kids that have moved around. They're independent. They can make friends. They figure things out quicker. And like I said, very resilient. And so the positive is we really produce some great independent kids that will be that next generation of leaders as we're moving. Still, high stress on the family. And I didn't know how stressful it was, so I got back from my second Iraq tour, my third combat tour, and my wife looked at me and she said, you know, I think I've had just about enough. And I'm like, okay.
So that brought the retirement.
That brought the retirement, yeah. I mean, yeah. So.
Now, we talked about a little earlier, Curtis, about the camaraderie, you know, when you're in the service, you get to know a lot of people and work with a lot of people and friendship and so forth. You still stay in contact with a lot of the people that you serve?
I do. You know, it's funny, because I think I stay in contact with those 2 or 3 different friends that were my closest friends, and you know, you have those.
Yeah.
So, and then in the special ops community, I stay in touch with a lot more. But you stay in touch, and you'll call them up, and you may not have talked to them for 2 years, but it's just like you never left. It was like we were just together yesterday.
15 seconds.
15 seconds,
like,
we're back,
like old times,
right? Yeah, you're back. And, but you know that they're moving, lives are busy. You may have retired, like, you know, there's a few general officers that are good friends of mine that are still serving now, you know, and so their lives are pretty busy, you know, with everything that's going on, so I try not to bother them too much. But yeah, good friendships.
I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you, would you do it all over again?
Yeah, you know, I saw this video when I was a lieutenant of this general officer, and I think it was when I was at the Armor Basic Course, and he's talking about his life in the military, and I'm going to use his exact language. He said, you know, if I had to do it all over again, I'd join the Army and I'd marry that same girl, and I'd do this exact same thing.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of veterans say the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was an experience, a great experience.
It's a great experience.
With some hazards along the way, but
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your experiences in combat affect your life after coming home? You know, getting out of service?
Yeah, I think they did. Although probably with a lot of our soldiers, the soldier doesn't see it, but the family sees it, right? And so. You know,
so many tours for
so many tours. There's a lot, and I'm the type of guy who compartmentalizes everything. So here 20 years after I left the 160th, friends would be talking about things that we did, and my wife says, "I didn't know that." You know, you just don't talk about a lot of things. So you know, there's that, and then I think there's an opportunity for a softening, as my wife calls it. You know, we're hard. You had to be hard in combat. You know, you had a mission-focused hard. Once you leave that life behind, you have the opportunity to kind of soften a little bit, enjoy a little bit more of whatever it is that's around you, friendships and stuff like that, and really be good friends.
You cherish things like that.
You
more,
do.
Yeah.
You don't have to put this on and be that. You know, and now you can kind of chill just a little bit more. Yeah.
Well, with 29 years, I'm sure you have a lot of memories, and you've talked about some of them, I'm sure, here. What is your favorite memory while serving in the military?
My favorite memory? Wow. I'd say there's several of them, but even in the combat tours, I don't know if I'd say a favorite memory. Well, it was, but being in the 160th, before we went into Haiti, we were on the aviation. We brought all our aircraft on the USS America, the last diesel aircraft carrier. And the Navy took their entire air wing off, and here comes the special ops helicopters on. And we basically took over the ship. We had a Ranger battalion on there. We had some SEALs with us and us on there. And there was just a contingent of the folks that ran the ship and then all the Army guys. And we were on that boat for 36 days, flying off, doing missions and stuff like that. And that was really a great memory, how the Navy, the Army, all were working together, you know, to get ready to go and into Haiti. And of course that mission got called off right. I mean, I was in my little bird and I was loading up ammunition into magazines when they called it off. Yeah, but
we all pull together when in the time of need, but always like the little joking and carrying on between difference between the Army and the Navy and the Marines.
Oh yeah.
Always,
yeah.
That's just part of it.
Oh, it's just part of it. Yeah, always the jabbing back and forth and stuff. Yeah.
Now you served during a war, and I'm sure you've seen a few war movies. Do you think war is depicted accurately in the TV movies or the movies that you have seen since you've been out of the service?
I think they've gotten better over time.
Okay.
You know, unfortunately, when you look at all the old movies that when I grew up as a kid that made me want to join, you know, it's not so glamorous as that. Black Hawk Down was a really good movie, you know, and I actually had the opportunity. I led the Special Operations Aviation Unit and the Rangers in Morocco to film it under Ridley Scott.
Oh, okay.
Producer. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Unique experience.
Very unique experience, and I helped him, you know, with, you know, some of the, hey, this is really how we would do this.
Technical advisors.
Yeah, and of course I was in charge of the aircraft because we flew our aircraft in, so we were actually flying in it. But I think that movie really, that kind of shows the heroism, camaraderie, and that type of thing. And as you know, war is not glamorous. The battlefield is not a glamorous place at all. And I think the movies are getting better because they're showing less of the glamour and more of how horrible it can be.
How it actually is.
How it actually is. So in that perspective, it's getting better with it. Though I'll tell you what, when I got out of the Army, I don't watch that many of the newer war movies. You know.
That's in the past.
Yeah, I'll still watch the old one, Midway and all the, you know, those type of war movies. But yeah, going forward, I don't watch quite as many anymore.
Why don't you tell us about your family? I know you and your wife Susan have 2 daughters, right? Talk a little about that.
Yeah, two daughters, 2 brilliant daughters. My oldest, she is a communications specialist, and she actually is a book reviewer and editor for several of the most popular fantasy book novelists. And so, and she teaches ballet. Let me talk about my wife first.
Okay,
talk about her first,
yes.
Susan.
So
Yeah,
she may be watching.
she may be watching. Yeah. So we met when I was a sophomore in college and she was a senior in high school, and from there, after our first date, we've been married 39 years this summer. Been together 41 years. So after our first date, we never dated anybody else. That was it. She owned me after that. She owned me. And she has a degree in nutrition, but her passion is teaching ballet. So she is a director of ballet at the large Madison ballet dance company, about 800 students, and that's her passion. So my 2 daughters were always dance rats. They were always there after class dancing, so they both dance. So my oldest daughter, Jessica, I told you she's a communications specialist, but she also teaches ballet and lives in Madison here with us. My youngest daughter is just finished up her PhD in psychology and counseling education. And obviously both those girls are brilliant and they take after their mother, okay? And beautiful and take after their mother.
Good point,
yeah.
Susan.
Yeah, yeah.
She might.
But very proud of all 3 and what they've had to endure as they were small kids growing up, trying to figure out why Daddy's gone off to war again. Yeah.
Curtis, while the girls were growing up, did they ever talk to you about possibly, when they grew up, joining the military?
My youngest did. My youngest did. She talked about joining the military. She talked about joining the CIA. I mean, she was my adventurer. That was going to be a black belt. She was about to take her black belt test in Taekwondo, and she got injured. But, you know, when you've paid the price and you have daughters, you're like, you know what? I've paid our price to our nation for the whole family. I want you 2 to do something else.
Dues, yeah.
Yeah, I paid my dues, and so I never encouraged them to follow in our footsteps. Yeah.
You presently work with SAIC. What exactly do you do for this company?
I'm a vice president of strategy and business development for them.
You got to travel a lot?
Not as much as I thought I would, because for my operation in SAIC, most of ours is Huntsville based. You know, we got the old MRDEC, AMCOM, AMC, all the headquarters. I'm using acronyms that nobody knows what they are, but the headquarters that are in Huntsville at Redstone Arsenal. So fortunately for me, I may travel once a month.
This is how you wound up in Huntsville? You had a job with SAIC?
Yeah. Okay. I'd never been stationed here because I've been in operation my whole life, never an acquisition officer. But I had so many friends here that said, come on down, take a look. So I came down, and several companies wanted to interview me, and we got a few offers and decided with SAIC. Yeah.
A lot of retirees, military retirees live in this area.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we're the better for it, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Curtis, when you're out working in your yard and see a helicopter fly over, what goes through your mind? Does that bring back a lot of memories? Like, oh, we should have up there with that stick, doing maneuvers?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. Yes, sir. You look up, and especially the Black Hawks flying, because that's the last 2 aircraft I flew. You know, they're flying by, and you look, you smile, and you just know that those pilots are up there. They're shaking the sticks, and they're doing their thing, and you miss it. You do miss it. Yeah, absolutely.
To those young people who may be watching, who may be considering a career in the military, what advice would you give them?
I guess my biggest advice is, it's a calling. The military is a calling, and you have to put, and if you're going to join, you're already probably doing this, put nation and the people of our country above self. This oath about defending the Constitution, you are defending our way of life, and that's what the Constitution represents, is our way of life. So my advice to you is, first off, thank you if you're considering joining the military. And go in there, do your very best every day, make those friendships, because in the military, those bonds and friends that you make will last a lifetime. And trust your leaders. Trust your leaders.
But military is not for everyone, is it?
No.
How would you recommend to someone that's considering a military career that, how do I know this will be before I commit,
Yeah. And that's really a great question, Tom. And I've had several friends here that their children are thinking about going in the military, and they say, do you mind talking to my son? Do you mind talking to my daughter? And so I take time to talk to them. So I would say find somebody who's been in the military, and maybe a few people, because different people have different views of the military. Sure. One person may not have had a great experience. I've obviously, after 29 years, had great experience all the way through. I mean, there's always tough, challenging times, but that's life. It's been good. So find somebody, talk to them, and say, what do you think? And just listen to them and see if it's for you. I mean, recruiters are going to tell you what they want you to hear, and then talk to somebody else who's been there. And I think you'll still, if you want to go in, I think you will go in. It's always a challenge, but if it's easy, then what's the fun in that?
Get all viewpoints, or get all the viewpoints you can.
Get all the viewpoints you can, yeah.
Yeah.
And make your assessment.
And
you make your decision.
Because it's your decision.
It's your decision.
Exactly.
At least for a couple of years.
You were inducted into the Hall of Heroes in 2019. What has that experience meant to you?
Yeah, it's a humbling experience. When I got the call that says, hey, we're considering nominating you, I'm like, okay, let me look at the Hall of Heroes and see all the folks that were inducted with me. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm worthy of this. I mean, these guys are great guys, did a lot for the country and heroes. And, I'm like, there's so many other people that are probably more deserving than me. And that's what went through my mind,
Sure.
But obviously, very humbled. And it's like I said to you earlier, I accept this nomination on behalf of everybody who got me to where I was. Those warrant officers that kept me safe on the battlefield. I'm in the back of a Black Hawk command and control, and there's two pilots up front flying, making sure they're not getting shot down, and me and my crew with me. So it's all about the team. Every award that a soldier receives, it's a team award. Well, I should say every award that I receive. I've always thought it was a team award.
Yeah. Curtis, I want to thank you for participating in our oral history interview series and allowing us to preserve your military experience. And thank you, sir, for your service.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview or any interview in our Military Heritage series, please visit the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.us. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for joining us.